Greetings and welcome to the Thirsty Mage, the podcast finally taking a small, very small chunk ahead of their backlogs. I'm your host David Lloyd, and this episode we talk about an old title in a new perspective, and playing a DS game in an age where you can no longer replace your hardware if you do something not so good. But joining me tonight, without a hint of motion sickness, despite hours of his PSVR 2 time, it's Casey Gibson.
I wish that was some sort of way to monetize my ability for motion sickness or lack thereof.
Yeah. So
it feels good. Yeah, it's because I guess going in, I wasn't really too concerned about it, but I guess it sort of lingered in the back of my head. I figured maybe it would be like, maybe I'd get a headache or something, after a while. But no, I've been lucky and I've been able to turn off all like the motion sickness, sort of mechanics they, implement, like the sort of tunneling when you run, the snap turning. Fortunately, I'm able to turn all that crap off, and it makes everything so much better. I feel bad for the people that get the motion sickness.
Yeah, I was watching. There's this YouTube channel that I watch, and they were doing streaming. They it's not really like what they do, but they're kind of young guys, so they were doing this streaming,
dipping their toes in there.
Yeah, it's kind of a series of not even streaming. I guess it was just videos where they showed like them playing video games or whatever, and so they got to this VR game, and it's kind of like simulating a ghost hunt where you go into a house with like different tools and stuff, and you're supposed to find the ghost and identify it and all this. And
it's like those old TV shows of the ghost hunters.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's like a ghost hunting simulator.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're like going in and doing this stuff, and the one guy, it like kind of cuts. He goes, we might have to switch to monitor mode because I'm starting to get sick, and then it kind of does this cut to them outside of it. And he's like, yeah, he goes, well, I just spent the last hour puking in the parking lot, so I think I'm ready to go now.
Oh, man. Yeah, I've definitely heard some horror stories of people like, yeah, I could play like, 15 to 20 minutes, and then my head hurts the entire rest of the day. And yeah. I guess, you could work your way up from what I've read, you could sort of build your tolerance. But yeah, fortunately, like I said, lucky in that front. Very noticeable with Resident Evil 8, like how much better it is to just be able to freely move and not have like, because it tunneled when you would run, like your side views it literally tunnel vision, right? To just sort of reduce the motion going on at once. But when I got rid of that, I was like, oh my good Lord. It's like, this is like a brand new game,
Yeah.
I need to get back into No Man's Sky. Because in that game, the default is sort of like you use the left stick and like you see, I almost describe it like when you're playing Pikmin, right? And like you sort of get that cursor where you can throw your Pikmin on the ground. Yeah. It's sort of like that, but then like where you like aim is where you'll sort of just snap to. Again, I guess to reduce motion sickness, but I hope and I imagine they probably have sort of like, hey, you could just run around normal, and I definitely think I'd be able to handle that. And they also just did an update too that apparently sort of boosted the graphics as well. A lot of people sort of complaining about it being a little not so good looking on the PSVR 2, but
low res.
Yeah, I guess they're working their way up though.
Well, that's good. Well, before we get into the games that we've been playing, I just wanted to plug a little things at the beginning of this show because I know there's been podcasts that I've listened to where it's, I don't follow it 100%. I listen to the podcast and then, they tell me information. And then when I'm actually listening, I'm like, oh, that's neat. I'm glad I know about this now. I wish I knew about it later. So I thought, maybe I'll plug some stuff at the beginning just to let people know what we're up to. It always feels a little weird to me. I don't like to shill, but, I want to make sure people are informed. So, for the podcast, we're still kicking, still doing one show a week. We got the Patreon where generally we get the episodes up a week in advance, so you get to support the podcast and get your episodes a week early. So that's at patreon.com/thethirstymage. I've recently started dipping my toes into the streaming gig myself. I've started playing some games on Twitch. So with the Pixel remasters coming out, I had the Steam versions already I bought the big package way back when
Yeah,
it was
you
only
were
the
a day
first one.
one buy, right?
I
That's
was a
pretty
day
cool.
one. Yeah, I was day one. So I think they released like the first 3 on day one, and then like
Yep,
4,
and they
5, and 6 kind of came out like a few every couple months they would
dude,
release another one.
dude, quick aside, real quick. Have you seen how good the icons look on the Switch all lined up on there?
No, I've heard that each game gets its own icon though.
Oh, it looked like Danny the Bivs Bivens. He posted a picture of it on his Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, baby!" Like that made me want to almost go buy it
Yeah.
just to have them all lined up nice and fancy like that.
Yeah, they actually? I love when the publishers actually put some effort into the icons. You know.
Yeah, I posted in the chat there for you so you could see it. Yeah, I mean it's nothing like crazy insane, but it just looks nice and crisp, and all of them lined up next to each other. Mm.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. I like they got the Amano, uh, drawings, I guess, for each character. So it
With
looks
nice
nice.
coloring and stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It just all lined up next to each other, definitely looking nice and crisp.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't understand why Nintendo didn't have like a set. Like if you're I feel like the icons have to show a picture. They have to have the title on the icon. Like there should be like a standard that's like we're not going to accept it if you don't have it. I
Yeah,
remember
it's funny
some
because
really bad ones.
I know Jerry gets all caught up on this too. It's like you put all of this time, into developing this game, from beginning to end, right? Going through all this, and then it's like, all right, now we need to come up with the first thing everyone's going to see in our game, and like half the people just poop out like a crappy looking icon, and it's like this is what people drive by shopping, right? This is what they're
Yeah.
going to see. Like put some effort into it.
Yeah, well, there was a game I can't even remember. It was so long ago now, but I remember this game came out early on in the Switch. I think it was an indie or it was a small developer's smaller, like not a big one anyway. But and it was kind of a pixely game, and I can't remember exactly what. I don't remember anything about the game other than that this weird ending. But its icon was literally just a picture of a pixelated pig, and the pixelated pig wasn't even really in the game. It was like a joke in the background of the game or something. Like it wasn't even there was no like without context. You'd be like, well, why is there a pig? And it made no sense. It was like a pig on a blue background, so it was just like no name, no nothing. And I'm like, this is the worst icon I've ever seen. Like,
that was them. They got it done. They post like ready to ship, and like, yo, what's your icon at? And they're like, oh
yeah.
no,
We got 30 seconds.
yeah, just throw the pig on there. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Oh man, it was awful. So yeah, I'm with Perry. I think if you're putting in the effort to make the game, put in the effort to make an icon that's nice.
And like I said, I mean, it's actually like it's important. It's that's selling the game, But
yeah, for sure.
Oh well.
Yeah. So I'm on Twitch. I'm playing Final Fantasy IV right now. I would say maybe half to 3/4 of the way through it. I've made a commitment to play the whole thing, so I got that on there.
Yeah, I was
so
going to say playing it exclusively on stream.
Exclusively, you can see from beginning to end, even the embarrassing part 3 where I got my butt kicked by Bagan to the point where it's like I think I died 3 times on stream and I just gave up because I was so embarrassed.
Well, you're playing Elden Ring beginning to end on stream next, right?
Oh, frick. I don't know if I got 300 hours.
300 hours, and then that would get a lot of good, frustrating death clips, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm sure I'd be mocked mercilessly as well for my action RPG.
It'd be embarrassing. Yep.
It's one of those things too, is where it's like there's that little bit of I don't know if it like stage fright's the way to put it, but just like when someone's watching and
pressure, baby.
There's some pressure that's just not there because what happened too is
the Maple Leaf fans know all about pressure.
Yeah, they do. Oh man, they know about choking. So yeah, so I'm at the end of this stream and I'm fighting Big N, and I know there's a trick to beating him, and so I was sure I was doing it right, but he kept killing me. So I think I died 3 times, and then I'm like, okay, well I'm just gonna fight him off stream now, and then I'll just start right back up the next stream where it was. So literally, I go off stream, and I'm like, I was gonna do it the next day, but I'm like, I'll give it one more try. And like, I think I beat him in like 4 hits, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me!
I
Like,
was told exclusively on stream.
yeah,
Uh,
all but the
it.
Big N fight.
I'm
Everything else
not
has been on.
watching.
Yeah,
Nope, I'm out.
yeah. So everything's on there though. The first few I wasn't talking. you can see the progression of
You're in the zone.
me like getting more comfortable as things go on, because I'm like, there's, I think the first two episodes, there's I don't talk, and then in the third one I start to talk, because like, you have to say something when it's that embarrassing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then it just went
streaming's
from there.
tough, man, because it's. I mean, anyone can just sit there and play a game, right? You want to be a
Yeah.
little entertaining, so it's like finding that good balance, and especially like if there's not like a ton of people sort of in the chat. I've been on that too, where it's like you almost got to just like pretend like
Talking
you're.
to nobody.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
look at all this, engagement I'm getting. Let
yeah,
me just keep answering these questions.
yeah,
And then you just don't put the chat in the YouTube video, and boom.
yeah. So if anybody's got a Twitch account, even if you're not gonna watch, just come follow. Give us a.
Right? And it is just the Thirsty Mage, correct?
Yeah, I don't. It's like, I don't know if it matters, but it's the_thirsty_mage. So yeah, just, and you can find it if you go to thethirstymage.com. Kind of halfway down in the middle of the website is the Twitch. There's a link to the Twitch site, so you
Yeah,
can
and I did it
get
right
through
here.
there.
You could literally twitch.tv/the_thirsty_mage will bring you right there.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, head over there, and then yeah, if you want to ever see, I'm sure once I get done that, I'll be doing something else. I was thinking I might do Live Alive on PS5 as the next stream, because that's coming
You
out
could play
next
all
week.
the pixel, 3D pixel,
Yeah,
and all that good stuff.
and then maybe it'll convince Square to release Dragon Quest 3
Oh,
on the.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Please, come on, baby,
Mm,
let's go.
yep. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And then yeah, if you want to come chat while I'm on doing that, I'm usually either doing it after dinner around 6 Eastern, or usually before bed at like 10, 11 Eastern. So one of those two times.
AKA when we normally record the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I have a very specific set of free time.
He's got his slots open.
Yeah, in between kids' dinners and bedtimes and all that fun stuff. And yeah, and then Casey, as always, you got your podcast as well, Talking Nintendo podcast. So you're always up to that. So again, if anyone enjoys us, make sure to subscribe to Talk Nintendo.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, I guess that'll do it for our plug-in away. And we'll get into the topics of the night. So we'll start with yours, Casey. So you're, like we had talked about at the beginning of the show, you've been playing some PSVR 2, and you actually picked up a game that I played a long time ago. I had to watch my own review to remind myself of what was going on there. But yeah, you are playing Townsmen VR.
Yes, that is correct. It's funny, right? Because before the VR or PSVR 2 came out, I'm looking at all these games and I'm seeing like so many I want to try out, right? Obviously, I'd never done VR before, so I was just, pretty much excited to try any and all games. But Townsmen VR was sort of one of those like, oh, I'm interested and it looks sort of cool and we'll sort of see how it goes. And fortunately, we were lucky enough to get a code and hopped in there. And first thing is I love the visuals. I believe you were saying earlier, right? This is originally a
It's
mobile
originally a
game
mobile
that
game,
was
yeah.
sort of ported over, and now it's a VR game. So it definitely sort of, I guess I could sort of see that. Um, but for me playing in VR, it has like a very diorama sort of feel to it, because the game is, right, it's a simulator game. You are sort of I'm playing the campaign, so it's sort of ramping it up. Right, first you go onto a little island and it's like, hey, make a house, and like they introduce sort of how you play. And then as you go through, you sort of bounce around to new islands and you sort of have to build up the economy. There's obviously you got to get food, you got to get wood, stone, all sorts of stuff like that. And then you'll, build up your town. And then, as you continue to get further into the game, right, they start introducing some more military units, and you'll get attacked kind of thing and have to fend it off. But it has a very RTS feel to it, right? Like the good old days, which is, it's actually funny, right? Like, were you a real time strategy guy on the PC back in the day?
Yeah, I loved Command and Conquer. I like that was. I remember when it came out on PC, I was getting like every version of that. I thought it was the
Red
greatest.
Alert, bro.
Yep, Red Alert.
Yeah, we had, it was Command and Conquer, Red Alert. We played the crap out of, Warcraft 2 and 3, Starcraft. So it has that kind of feel to it, right? Different because you're not actively building up an army and going out and attacking, but it's more sort of, right, you're building up your town and your island here. And then, in some situations, you'll be fending off enemies. So almost sort of like a tower defense a little bit in that sense. But what's cool is, like I said, as far as the visuals go, they're not like, oh my God, they're definitely not realistic, sort of cartoony. But like I said, it's cool because it's like a little diorama, and the way the perspective is like you're almost like a god, right? Like you can move your characters around, you can literally pick them up. You've got a set of hands that you'll see, and it's funny, you got like little armor, gloves, and you could pick up your people and you sort of like, hey, I want you to go fishing, so I'm going to go sort of drop you over by the lake. I need you to get wood, right? So I'm going to pick you up and put you by a tree, and we'll chop the wood, and all that good stuff. And the way like you'll be moving is sort of like, you almost like you're crawling around to move the camera. So like if you'll like, in real life, right, I'll move my left hand forward and then I'll press down on one of the buttons on the controller, and then I'll pull that back. And it's almost like that's pulling my head forward. It's almost like you're like crawling around. It's a little strange to get used to at first, but it doesn't feel too bad. And then you can sort of pinch your hands in and out to just literally zoom, right? So you can have like a real, eagle eye perspective on the whole island. Like literally, you're above the clouds. You can actually grab the clouds and move them around, or you can zoom in real close, where you're literally eye level down by these buildings, and you can see your characters in a little bit more detail and all that stuff. So it feels really cool. I like the VR aspect of it. And actually, like, no joke, my arms were getting a little tired on one of the bigger islands, like where you're sort of moving around a lot. But it is a strategy game, so there is some downtime where you'll just sort of be chilling too. Like for instance, one of the islands, like it's sort of like, hey, here's sort of like a laundry list of buildings. We sort of want you to build right now, right? So all right, I'm doing that, but like I have to wait for the trees to grow. So, waiting for a little bit there. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh crud, I forgot to build the wood saw, right? So I've got all this lumber, but it's not built, into actual lumber. So that was holding up my construction. So now I've built that, but now, now I'm waiting for all of my little people to grab the wood as it comes off the press and then walk it over to the buildings that need to be finished. So there is a little bit of downtime, but it's not, not too bad. I think with VR, maybe it's a little bit more noticeable, right? Because if you were, playing just on the TV, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for that guy to just sort of walk across the map and put, sort of finish that construction, like, oh, let me just check my phone real quick or something like that. But in VR, right, you're sort of locked in, so you're sort of just like chilling. But
I'd
yeah,
be
not
trying to pick them up and like
yeah, you could do it fat. Yeah, I was thinking
move.
about that. Yeah, hurry. Well, it's funny. You definitely like just as you're moving, right? Like you'll knock into your little people by accident sometimes. So all of a sudden, I'll be like trying to do whatever doing the objective I'm working on, and all of a sudden I hear like. I'm like, oh no. And then like I'm looking like, where did I knock the guy into the water and he's drowning?
Can you flick them?
I don't. You know what? I don't know if you could flick them.
Oh,
I
that'd be
always pick
hilarious.
them up. You could toss them for sure. You can dunk them.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'd be such a like there'd be what are they epitaph like when they're mad at their gods or whatever, they'd be like burning effigies
Oh
of me
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'd be messing with them so much.
Yeah, you could definitely drown. Well, it's funny too because they had birds, or they have birds and stuff flying around and seagulls. And I noticed, I'm like this one bird's flying down by my fishing area, where I've got my fish sort of stocked up. And he went down and he grabbed one right out of my storage.
Oh
So I
really?
so I grabbed the bird, and then he dropped the fish, and then I got an achievement
That's
for
awesome.
stopping the bird. Um, but yeah, no, it's got a lot of really cute little things like that. It's charming, right? Sir Clunkalot is sort of like your guide, right? So he's telling you how to sort of like, hey, this is what you're doing. So it's funny, and like, yeah, when the enemy, or not, I mean, I guess sometimes enemy, but when like other people come to the island or whatever, they interact, like you'll see their head and they'll have a set of hands, so they'll be floating in the sky. But with VR, right, you can sort of go and like you can actually like poke them in the nose, and like they'll be talking and then they'll be like, ugh, and then they'll like start their dialogue again, or like the one girl's like, excuse me. So some cute little things thrown in there, but
Yeah.
yeah, overall it's a cute little game. It is $40, so it's a little pricey. I would say maybe.
Yeah.
But if you're into this kind of game, maybe that price isn't too much. Or it's
Probably
also
goes on
now.
sale, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I was gonna say at this point, right? We're now at almost like 2 months from the release of the VR2. So yeah, hopefully we'll start to see some sales coming around. Actually, the first game to be included with the PSN VR2 game is coming this month, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I believe the game's called Humanity. And I believe it's like a Lemmings puzzle kind of weird game, apparently. So, but
Yeah.
hey, that's pretty cool. I guess I'll just say quick too before we move on, or before you sort of chime in. I know I've been yapping, but I like how you can upgrade the buildings too, right? So again, it's got sort of it does actually give me like Warcraft 2 vibes, like the building types and how they sort of look. But you can upgrade them as you go on too, so it's cool to see them sort of get bigger, and sort of the diversity of the different buildings you can make. Like I said, it all looks really, really wonderful.
Yeah. I think it's been, well, according to my review on on our website, it was 4 years ago that I played this game. So the memory's a little hazy. There's probably a couple hundred games between then. But the one, yeah, I just like when I was watching the video, I'm like, okay, I remember this. It was like it reminded me of, it was like a medieval Sim City,
Hmm.
where you kind of build up a city, and yeah, I remember like having to build like fire towers because like part of the town would be on fire, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I should have hired a few firemen for that corner of the area, and
Gotta be
yeah, so
proactive, not reactive,
yeah,
David.
that's right. Trying, that's what happens when you pinch pennies. Um, and like setting up, yeah, like wool farms, and I remember making mines and stuff to like dig out stone. So I remember it was a fun game. I think the campaign was only a few hours, so it wasn't like crazy. And then they had a sandbox, kind of open sandbox, kind of do what you want sort of thing. And I'm sure I messed with it, like, because I remember playing SimCity back in the day, and then you build your city, and then you're like, okay, well, it's tornado time.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
yeah. What
yeah,
havoc can we set out
yeah.
to these poor civilians?
Like there was like a flying saucer you could sick on the city and stuff. So it was
The Bowser attack.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I
So,
see. I love these sim games. Growing up, yeah, Sim City for the Super Nintendo. That was really I've played the so much that game, and honestly, that game holds up today. It's another game actually. I'm sort of interested with VR is Skylines, I believe it's
oh
called.
yeah, yeah,
And it's funny, right? Because playing this, I could sort of right. I bet you it feels probably pretty similar. Obviously, this one's more like, hey, you're building individual buildings and sort of doing some more, you know, like you said, medieval sort of battle almost feeling stuff, opposed to like, hey, making like a modern city. But I feel like moving around and being able to get down real close, like to me, like Skylines, that's going to definitely be a like when it goes on sale for because I think that's a $40 game, might be 30, but if I get that half price, that might be something like, all right, let's go.
yeah. Cool. Well, before we get into the game that I've been playing, that I just finished actually, not that long ago. I just wanted to address. So last week on the pod, it was Jordan and Paige talking about Breath of the Wild, reminiscing about their adventures with Link through Hyrule, and kind of almost like a little bit of a preview of Tears of the Kingdom. And I couldn't help but notice I got called out on my Square Enix love affair, and now they did accurately say that I wasn't picking up Tears of the Kingdom, and that is true. Um, but what was funny is that they couldn't figure out if you were picking it up, Casey.
Really?
Yeah, they were debating. It's like, I think he'll get it, but I don't know if he's going to get it. So now I feel like you need to set the record straight on whether you're picking up Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I have. Of course, I'm going to
Yeah.
be getting that. Yeah, I've.
You've been talking about getting it, so that's why I was like, I thought it was kind of funny. It's like, I'm pretty sure he's been talking about how excited he is for the game.
Yeah, I've played every single Zelda. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's a few out there. Like I've never beaten Oracles in age, whatever. But as far 3D, the main boys releases, it's like, yeah,
yeah.
totally. I'm surprised you are not going to get it.
I I don't know. I've been kind of off and on. Like I've always grown up picking them up. Like I had the Ocarina of Time, and then I picked up Twilight Princess. I picked up that
Skyward.
crappy one on Wii, Skyward Sword. I just didn't like that at all. But part of it is I just don't like the Wii, so I'm sure that's
Yeah,
part of it.
understandable.
Yep. I enjoyed Breath of the Wild, but it's just I don't know. Like I just the thought of doing it again is like I don't know. Like I'm just not feeling it this time. I guess
Yeah, well,
it
we'll
seems like
see.
such a unique experience where it's like I don't know if I'd want to do it twice.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna hopefully be different enough. That's why I'm hoping there's a bigger focus on some dungeon action. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've said it before where I think the four ancients looking all similar makes sense within the game, and I don't, I don't begrudge that, but it's just I like going to different like diverse temples or dungeons that are really different, right? Like and
yeah,
get like, oh man, here's the water, and get the different vibes of the game. So I'm hoping there's something more with that. But it's a Zelda game, baseline it's going to be really dang good no matter what, and
yeah,
it's just the all right. Let's see where on the slider it is. Is it like oh my god, amazing, or is it just real good? So
yeah. Do you prefer the more I don't know if linear is the way to put it, but the more defined path Zelda, or were you are you more of a Breath of the Wild? I'll do what I want when I want.
I would say the former.
Yeah,
It's funny, right? Because like Breath of the Wild, I would say is like I've probably had the most fun. Like that's the most fun I've had with a Zelda game, but it isn't my favorite Zelda game. You
yeah,
know, because it's real good. I really, I'm not a huge into the like open world like that. Go do whatever the heck you want, kind of thing.
Yeah.
but I embraced it because it was, Zelda, and I loved it and had a great time. But yeah, I would rather like, hey, here's like, let's bring those mechanics in a more streamlined, like, look at these awesome temples and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no doubt it's gonna be super fun. We'll have a blast with it. So,
Yeah.
but and I still can't believe it's like a month away.
I know it's coming up quick.
And then after that, Diablo 4 is a month away, and Final Fantasy 16, and it's like, good golly.
Yeah, and then the Trails to Reverie is or Trails Trails from Reverie. The next one I can't even remember.
Can't keep it straight.
It's when there's just too many games all coming up real quick. So
yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Well, that's like I've been jonesing, like I really want to play D4. Actually, I just started New World. That's the Amazon MMO. I believe I talked about it like when it first came out a little bit, and it was real bad. Yeah, it was like really like no quest, like super grindy. Like it was like people found out how to like just not take any damage from things, and like just had to bug the game completely. But they've done a lot of work in like a year and a half it's been out. And like they've reworked the leveling where it's like quests and it's not just like grinding like the same 3 quests over again. So, it seems like they've done a lot of improvement, and a lot of people saying it's been fun. So I've been sort of looking for something to jump into like that where I could sort of chip away at it. So I don't know how much I'll stick to it, but so far so fun in comparison to the original Go.
Yeah, well, it took Final Fantasy 14 a few years to find its feet. So
yeah, it was so funny. Like if you played in like Windows mode, right, on the computer, and like you clicked the border and like moved it around, you couldn't take any damage.
Oh Jesus! Like
so like
that meta.
Yeah, and then like, but it would also like, I guess, like if you were in the middle of attack, it would keep doing it or something. So like it would just queue it up, and like you'd be invincible, and then you just murder anything. And yeah, so it's like just completely broken. And like MMOs, right? They usually have a test realm, so it's like a complete copy of the original, or like copy of the live game, so they can implement patches and fixes and see if it just completely busts other things, but they did not have one when they started. So any changes they were making, they would just making on the fly to live servers. So it was just an absolute disaster. Like they'd fix one thing, other things it would break 4 other things, like just completely really, really, really bad. But to their credit, it seems like they've really been putting in the time. So yeah. MMOs are crazy, man. I couldn't imagine trying to launch one like actually like working real well off the rip.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it's just mood for a lot of people, and there's just so many factors that some you have control over, others you don't. So it's and I'm sure a lot of it's just luck, or just finding that secret recipe that just
a little luck, a little skill, and hope it all works out.
Yeah, exactly. But like Jordan Page had said, I've been playing a lot of Square Enix lately. I've been on a Square Enix kick, playing a lot of games. I actually just posted today I'd say I'm probably halfway to 3/4 of the way through listing every Square Enix English, like every English localized Square Enix game on the Thirsty Mage website. So there's like a picture of the box for every game. So right now I've got everything from the pre-merger days all the way up through PS2.
You're saying physical copies?
Yeah, so it's like a picture of like the box itself.
Mm.
Yeah, so there's like all the NES games, the Super NES, the Game Boy, PlayStation, PS2. Just uploaded all the Nintendo DS games, and halfway through the PSP games, and yeah, so they're all listed now for anyone who's wanting to find out every game that Square Enix made. And I'll be doing the more current generations shortly. So probably in the next week or two, that should be done. It's way more work than I ever thought it would be, and I'm kind of like, oh man, I took on a big task, but I want to power through it because I've been trying to either pick up or play every Square Enix game. I'm just doing, I don't know, I've been in the mood for it, I guess.
Well,
And
you got to cement your fandom if as if the hundreds of hours of you talking about their games online hasn't already done that.
I know I probably made them mountains of money already, and still I have to go beg for discounts at the retro video game store.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of those pickups that I got was a Nintendo DS game. The World Ends with You. So this is a game. It's funny. I actually bought this game years ago when we first started the podcast, thinking I would play it. And I think Jordan said he was going to play it with me, and then we just never got around to it. And I ended up giving it away to one of the patrons. And I remember at the time, I think I paid like $20 for it from like a retro game store. And then lately, in this thing of trying to pick up all the games, I thought, oh, this is a good time to pick it up, and I ended up paying $50 for it this time around.
Yeah, I got lucky on that one during that crazy Square Enix sale. I probably bought it for like $15 or $20.
Oh, it's worth it.
And then I sold it.
Okay.
It was part of my PSVR 2 acquirement fund. So that one I sold. I just went to look back. That was one of the 6 games I sold for like that big chunk of change. So, but yeah, no, I still actually never played this game.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, I'm playing. So it's the Nintendo DS version of it, but I played it on my 3DS, and looks fantastic. Like it's one of those games where it utilizes both the top and the bottom screens, where it's like there'll be stuff that comes on, like it stretches between both games, like like you'll get into a boss and like the boss will like rise from the bottom and go all the way to the top screen and stuff. So it's really neat. I was not ready for the level of complexity of this game. Like I had no idea there was so many mechanics. It was insane. There's just so much going on. I guess I'll start with kind of the base premise of the game. So basically what it is you're in Shibuya, and the main character is Niku, and he wakes up in Shibuya, and nobody's everyone's around him, nobody's really paying attention to him. He's kind of a loner to begin with, but it just seems odd that he's walking around and nobody can see him. And he runs into this girl Shiki, who wants to be a partner with him, and he has no clue what's going on. He's like, "What do you mean, partner?" And they get attacked by enemies called the Noise, and so they end up. You find out, or Niku finds out, that they're basically in this game where they have it goes on for 7 days, and they have to complete missions each day in order to and they have to stay alive until the end of the 7 days. And so there's an entry fee, and then the if you end up winning the game, the whole point of it is they actually, Niku doesn't know this at the beginning. It's not really a spoiler, I don't think, because you learn this pretty early on, but they're actually dead, the characters. So there's like 2 Shibuyas. There's like the real world and the underground world, and the underground world is where the dead people are. So there's all these like dead people that are trying to win back their, like, they get reincarnated back to life if they end up winning the game.
That's interesting. It's funny
Yeah,
because for all of this game, I've always heard how good it is. I know nothing about it, so
yeah.
it's interesting to hear like the premise.
Yeah, I'm the same. I went in like basically knowing nothing about the game, and then finding this out that there was this. I'm like, oh, okay, this is totally not what I thought it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah. So they're what happens is they kind of wake up at this in the morning, and then they get a text on their cell phone that says like this is your mission for today. You have this much time, and then there's like a timer that burns onto the back of their hand that counts down. And so somebody, it doesn't have to be Niku and Shiki, but some of the players have to complete the task. And if somebody does it, then all the players get to move on. But what's going on at the same time is that so there's enemies called noise. They're like little monsters that run around and try to eliminate the players. And if you're eliminated, you're basically like dead. And there's the people that run the game are called the Reapers. So they're kind of like I mean they were people at one point, but now they basically just work for the person that's running this game. So they're running the missions, and they're trying to eliminate players from the game, and it's their
like a
job
weird
to
Hunger Games.
yeah, it's kind of very very yeah, it's kind of Hunger Games ish in a sense. So yeah, so as the story is progressing, like you find out what the entry fee was for each of the players, and they go through. I guess I won't. That's probably as far as I'll go on the story, just because anything past that, I guess it's spoiler territory. But it's a really neat story. Like the characters are very engaging. Like I think Niku's a great protagonist.
Very stylized looking too.
Yeah, there's a lot of style to it. I mean, it's like 2010, I think, was when the game came out. So like they're using cell phones, like it's this new thing. They're all like flip phones too, which is hilarious. So I'm sure at the time it was very ahead of its time or whatever. And but yeah, that's part of it too, is that so you think I'll get into the combat, but basically the way the combat works is that you have these pins that give you powers when you're in a fight. So a pin will give you the ability to like shoot a fireball at an enemy, or another pin you could do like a circle on the screen, and then a icicle come out of the ground or something. And there's like probably 100 or so pins that you can get throughout the game, and they all give like these different powers, and then you can equip like a number of pins depending on how many slots you have available. And there's ones that heal and all this thing. So Niku is using the pins, and on the bottom screen, like the touch screen is there, Niku's down there, and you move him around by touching the touch screen, like pointing to where you want him to run and to kind of dodge enemies, and then you literally are like scratching the pad, like trying to attack on the thing
like a cat.
Yeah, but the thing that threw me off too was that while you're doing that, Niku's partner is on the top screen, and so you're controlling both at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
So I found it a little disorienting at the beginning, because I'm like, well, what screen am I supposed to be looking at here? Like,
you're getting motion sickness?
No motion sickness, but it's like I'd start looking at one and then forget that I was supposed to look at the other. And but what you can do is like you can determine, like, if you haven't. So the way that you control the character on the top screen is with the D-pad. And so if you're not actually doing anything, the computer will just take over and attack, just do an auto attack.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's
okay.
not
so
too
it's
bad.
not like you're just doing, literally just taking hits.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're not just taking hits, but if you're doing it yourself, so the person on the top screen can build up a meter where you get like a special attack. So if you're letting the computer do it, it's not, the special attack's not going to come up as quickly. But if you're doing it, then you can kind of do the maneuvers that build up that meter quicker. So there's a benefit for you to kind of like swap your attention from the bottom or the top or whatever. So it's pretty good. But so on top, so the characters, it's like a traditional RPG. Like you get experience points, so you're leveling up. You get money, so you can buy stuff. But there's like on top of the pins, like you can buy clothes that outfit that give you different abilities. Like they boost stats or they give abilities. But there's like so much clothes in the game. It's ridiculous. Like, and on top of that, there's like brands. So you got like t-shirts, pants, skirts, shirts, shoot, like everything. And then on top of that, there's specific brands. And depending on what part of Shibuya you're actually in at any given time, the brand that you're wearing may give you an additional boost or even make you a little bit weaker, depending on what people
Interesting.
think of the brand in that
Oh
particular
man.
area. And I'm like losing it. I'm like, oh my god! And then then there's like food that you can equip that you eat like between combat or whatever. So like you're literally, it shows you how long it takes to digest food, and the food gives you power ups as you're eating as well. So you always want to be equipping food to boost your character, and it's just so much going on. It's crazy.
Now, is
And
it
then
one of those ones where you feel like if you get just like the surface level, you could work your way through it, but it's one of those if you really want to get deeper into all the mechanics, like hey, you could really sort of to your heart's content, or do you
yeah,
feel like it's really important to sort of
no,
dive into those?
you can surface level it for sure because I
Okay,
finished the game and I'm looking at like, so there's, when you go into the menu, it shows like progress of like how many enemies, how many brands have you bought, how many pins do you own, and all this stuff. And I think I hit like 20% on everything, and I finished the game. So it's like
okay, yeah, yeah.
there's a ton that I could have still have done. And when you go to like how long to beat, I think it's like 20 to 25 hours to finish the game, and it's like 100 to get like 100% or whatever.
Oh yeah, to get all the
So
clothes and stuff.
yeah, so so I mean, if you're into it, then it's there's definitely that like tons of content there to go with. And I didn't, there's like you can travel to different places in Shibuya, like that's not related necessarily to your mission and stuff. So, and I didn't really explore as much as I probably could have, but yeah, it was great. Like the story was excellent. I was like kind of edging my seat of like, oh, what's going to happen with this guy, and then what's going to happen with this enemy, and you start like oh, I feel bad for that person, and it's like it's very a lot of twists and turns. So it was really good. It's one of those games. Like I do recommend the game. Like I think it's good. I think it's fun.
It seems
Um,
like it's for a certain kind of person, though, right?
yeah, like I can see some people being like, oh, this is I'm not having fun, or this is too much for me, because early on it probably took me like 5 or 6 hours to really understand the combat. Like I was getting frustrated at the beginning because I wasn't really understanding what I was supposed to be doing, and you really have to pay attention to the pins and stuff, because with each pin, like if you don't know exactly what the pin like how to activate the pins, or the
They're
best way to
useless, right?
oh yeah, you can like
Yeah.
really pooch a battle, because you're like you're scratching or circling and you don't know what to do. And some pins work better with others, because like it'll be like tap an empty space, but if you have two pins that tap empty spaces, then it just randomly like picks pins and stuff. So it's like you don't want to have like two different pins that are doing the same thing, because it just kind of messes it all up. So there's a little bit of work there. But and then just the fact that it's like I know the game is available on Switch, but I don't really know how it feels compared to the DS version, because it's like there's no way that what I'm doing here on my 3DS is how you would play it on Switch. It's just impossible, because like with the split screens and the controlling one character with the D-pad while you're like using a the stylus to do all the attacks and everything. So
Yeah, I forget. I feel like Alex might have played this one. Yeah, I feel like from what I've heard from people who played both, it's like yeah, the DS is the ideal way to go if you can.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, well, I guess the Switch version is probably going to cost you $60 anyway. So if you
yeah. If
and
you
the
go to
good thing is
3DS, I guess now
uh,
it's worth finding like a retro version of like going on eBay or something, or to retro video game store to pick it up, because it's probably about the same.
and it probably won't lose its value.
No.
You know what I mean? So you'll likely, if you, because that's what I always think, right? Like, oh, some of these old games are so expensive, but I guess it can't hurt to buy it, beat it, and resell it. You might
Yeah.
even you might even come out on top actually after it's all said and done.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like if you get even at least close to something, it's almost like renting it or something, you know.
Yeah. If you're down $10, it's like,
Yeah.
well, so be it.
Yep. But yeah, I would say that this is a win for Square Enix. It's a shame I'm coming in now where it's like potentially the franchise is dead because I don't think Neo did all that great. But I do have that on my Switch, or like I picked up a physical copy of it a while ago because I saw it really cheap. I think for like $20 somewhere. So I grabbed it thinking like, oh, I'll play this one day. I just gotta, I'll play the first one first, and then I'll play Neo, the World Ends With You later. And so now that I played the first one, I'd imagine I'll be, maybe not now because I've got a lot of Square Enix games I could be playing. But yeah, we'll see. I actually started it's called The Bouncer on PlayStation 2, and it's weird because
Simulator.
Sorry.
I said bar simulator.
Well, the thing that pisses me off the most about the game is that I didn't actually get to do any bouncing. Like the name of the game.
Lies.
So the character's occupation is a bouncer, but you would never know it based on the game because I didn't get to bounce anyone to begin with, and the game doesn't even take place in the bar. Like I was maybe in the bar for 30 seconds in the intro, and then I'm like gone. Like I'm off. Like it feels like Metal Gear Solid almost, where I'm
geez, yeah.
I'm like infiltrating a corporation somewhere, and it has like nothing to do with like, I don't know why they even bothered with the bouncer motif because it has nothing to do with it. It's like I'm off like fighting characters. It reminds me of like a Yakuza or like a Judgment, where it's like there's cinema scenes and then like fight there's action combat and then cinema scenes and then action combat. Like that's basically
it's like a modern day beat 'em up brawler.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And so I'm like a couple hours in, and then I'm like, it's fine. Like it's fun enough, I guess. The combat's pretty shallow, so there's not a whole. I'm mostly just playing it at this point for the story. But I went to how long to beat, and it's like 2 hours, and I'm like, there's no way this game is 2 hours. Like I'm already at 2 hours, and if the game ends here, like with so many story things going on, it's like I would lose it because I'm like, this is like, it has to be at least 10 hours. Like
they're just stringing you along for the DLC and the paid DLC and the second sequel.
Well, that's the thing is like maybe they had a sequel in mind. Maybe it's like they leave on a cliffhanger or something. But like it's crazy. Like there's this panther. There's this lady who can transform into a panther at will, and they didn't explain at all. Like you would think you're just in like a regular world kind of thing, and all of a sudden there's this transforming lady, and I'm like, what is going on? Like there's no explanation as to why this person can do this. It's all about like this guy's girlfriend gets kidnapped, and that's why he's going to this corporate headquarters to get her back, and then there's like some kind of strange past about her that I don't know about yet, and I don't know what's going on. It's just like it's insane. So that's what I'm playing right now. So we'll see.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, when's 16? That's June also, right?
That's June. Yeah, it's like June 16th or 17th or something.
June 22nd. Okay. So it'll give me a couple weeks of Diablo 4, then I could bounce to 16, beat it, and then bounce back to 4.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Your summer is all set.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh man. Well, and then you got Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, that's
up until Diablo 4.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good time to be gaming, that's for sure.
Yeah. It almost feels like 2017 again, where it was like something good coming out every month,
Dude, that year, man. Woo-wee!
Yeah. Might not be another one like it, but this year might be close.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, do you have any final thoughts or anything left that you want to share before we wrap her up tonight?
No, not particularly. I hope the Rangers lose. They suck. I hate them.
I didn't think it was going to be such a one-sided affair. I thought New Jersey was going to bounce back in game 2, but
well, yeah, I saw that was another one where I was like, "Oh, nice!" Like I checked the score, I was like, "Oh, Devils up 1-0." Like it was early, you know. But I'm like, okay. Then I looked and it was like 5-1 or 4-1, and I was like, "Jesus, what's going?" Like all these games are like flopping like crazy, but
yeah.
that's playoff hockey for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking the rest of my Leafs playoffs is not going to be a 7-2 affair again. I think it's going to might be a little bit closer games for the rest of the season.
It's nice to get those laughers, you know what I mean? Like, and when you're actually on the good side of it.
Yeah.
I've come accustomed to being on the bad side of the laughers. So when you get on the good side of one, it feels all right.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to being disappointed in elimination games. So hopefully that trend will change.
Yeah. It's not easy being a New York Gym fan.
No. Not easy being a Leafs fan.
Yeah.
Well, since we plugged everything at the beginning of the show, I guess we're all set for this one. I want to thank everyone for listening, and again, I'll just reiterate: if you want to hit us up on Twitch or YouTube or Discord, have a little chat. We're happy. We're always around. Always happy to talk video games. But until then, I guess we'll see everyone out at the next episode. Bye.
Adios.